Welcome everyone to MotoAmerica in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. It's round 5 of 9. It's the Honda Superbike Showdown of Wisconsin. And for the first time right here on beIN Sports Network, we're going to be showing you the race. It's the KTM RC Cup race, a race that's designed around showcasing rider talent and not necessarily the difference in machinery. And the KTM ambassador for the KTM RC Cup is Chris Fillmore, and he is with our pole sitter.
I'm Chris Fillmore. I'm standing here with Anthony Mazziato. Anthony just put his KTM on pole. How'd you get there?
You know, I had a really good lap on the KTM. I caught about a good drift on just about every straightaway, and no one got in my way in any of the turns. I was able to get by everyone before the braking zone, so, you know, I had a really good lap, you know, best lap I had all weekend, and I'm happy to be up on the pole. I'm about a second up on second place, and, you know, it doesn't happen a lot in this KTM, but, you know, I'm just happy to be where I'm at.
Well, congratulations, Anthony, and good luck in race 1.
All right, so there, the KTM RC 390, the same motorcycle you can buy in your dealership. They race them right here, have been all season long, and we're getting ready to showcase this field of riders that's going to be taking to this 4-mile circuit around MotoAmerica. You don't want to go anywhere on beIN Sports. This is some of the best racing that you will see ever. On the other side, Jonathan Green and Chris Fillmore will take you through the race. So don't go anywhere. It's going to be awesome. Riders out on track here at MotoAmerica for the KTM RC Cup with Jason Pridmore right now. Jason, want to say this, the rain has started to fall, and that's actually a good thing for these riders because it was starting to dry out.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, they don't have to worry about tire choices or any of that kind of thing, and these bikes are so light and they don't have a lot of horsepower, so they're not incredibly difficult to ride in these conditions. But for sure, as a rider, you'd much rather have it be pouring rain or dry. Those in-between conditions are difficult. That said, these guys, where they want to go in their future, they're going to have to learn to ride in all of these conditions. So the fact that they're getting a chance to do that here at MotoAmerica is a great thing for them.
Before we hear from Jonathan Green and Chris Fillmore, Jason, how competitive is this class?
It's really, really competitive, Greg. And at a track like this where you have so many big drafting opportunities, you could see a pack of 3, 4, 5, 6 guys. Even if you've qualified 1 or 2 seconds off what the pole sitter has, that being Anthony Mazziato, even though you might be 1 or 2 seconds behind him, there could be a big enough pack that could draw you along down these straightaways that's going to make it easier for you to be up in the front. You could see a pack of 6 or 7 people.
All right, so we're going to take another break here on beIN Sports, but you don't want to go anywhere because this is going to be close, tight racing, and there's a lot on the line. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Wisconsin, a wet Wisconsin, as we get ready for our first race of the weekend. Jonathan Green and Chris Fillmore here, bringing you a rather soggy preamble to this, and we've had an extra 5 minutes of sighting laps for these youngsters in the KTM Cup, and as you can see, formed up on the grid now. Chris, we've heard one bike's already gone down. I'm going to get confirmation of that, but the conditions just changed literally in the last 20 minutes. We just had Superpole. It was wet, or it started wet. It started to dry out, and by the time we finished Superpole, it was kind of dry, and then suddenly the heavens opened about 5 minutes ago, just before these guys went out.
Yeah, you know, it did. It looked like the sun was going to come out and the track might dry up, but, you know, this might actually be a good thing because the toughest thing out there is when it's kind of in between wet and dry. It makes it hard to pick a tire. You're either going to stay on the wets or the dries, and it's always a toss-up. So right now these guys they're full wets for sure. The rain is coming down, and we'll see what it serves up for us.
Well, we're expecting a battle royal once again. Brandon Pash, that's a rather attractive umbrella girl he's got there. Well done, Brandon. And she's rather fast too, I hear. And yes, Anthony Mazziato. That's who we're expecting once again. It's been that way all season long. And of course, we came here. This was our first race last year here at MotoAmerica. So they know this place, especially the guys at the front. But certainly when talking to some of the guys earlier, just before Superpole, in fact, They were sort of praying because it was wet then, pretty wet, and a lot of the guys like Josh Sine, who was pole here last year, was hoping for more rain. So he'll be happy because he hasn't qualified as well as he hoped he would. Ashton Yates still without that win. We were joking about it today, and of course it's not easy when your granddad and your dad are absolute superstars in their own right, but Ashton with the glasses on there. I don't know how hard it would be to race with glasses. There's a couple of guys out there, but it's always a factor or always a fear when you're racing with both glasses and a visor, just whether it's going to steam up or not.
Yeah, especially in conditions like this. You know, Ashton, he's had a really good season so far this year, and one of the major factors is that he ended up going to the doctor and got prescribed glasses, and now all of a sudden he's seeing straight, and it's
that
really
helps.
shown. It does help a little bit. Well, in his case, it's helping a lot. And here we go, Benjamin Smith. He's on the grid in 5th position.
Yeah, one of his best qualifying, so he's looking forward to this, rain or shine. But as you can see, conditions really, really tough, and it's gonna test the metal. I mean, the thing about this circuit, if you haven't seen it before in anger, so to speak, there's a lot of hills. There's a lot of downhill and downvale, and as you can see, standing water in the pit lane, and that means when you get to 3, when you get to 5, when you get to the bottom of the hill that comes back up to the start-finish, there's gonna be sitting water, and you've really got to be careful. We just saw the American champion, Cameron Beaubier, going down in Superpole. Gives you an idea of just how tough it is out there.
Yeah.
As we look at his brother.
Yep, and there's Ezra Beaubier. He did a really good job to put the KTM RC 390 into 6th position on the grid. But you're right. Right now, there's about 3/4 of these guys raced here last year in similar conditions. Road America is kind of known for at least one day of rain. And so some of these guys have a little more experience than the others. They did get a 5-minute warm-up, but right now it's we'll see what turns out for the race.
Well, I was going to say, we've been joking a little bit because we've been very unlucky in MotoAmerica so far in our 2-year tenure of having a lot of wet weather races. It's fine by us, and the racers don't seem to mind it. And, of course, yes, to answer the question, we always do race in the wet. Dunlop bring those wet weather tyres. And these, I've been asking about the grip, and every father, every mechanic, every engineer I've spoken to says that these tyres have got a lot of grip in the wet. And, actually, it doesn't seem to bother the riders at all.
No, for sure. Dunlop does a good job. You know, their R&D department, they got a facility for testing in the rain. They put on the sprinklers, and people get to go testing. And let's have a look here at the starting grid.
Yes, Mazziato from New Jersey and his arch nemesis, Brandon Pash. Aston Yates, yet to win a race. Jody Barry, the only other race winner besides the two at the first 2 positions. Benjamin Smith, Ezra Beaubier, we just mentioned. Jackson Blackman doesn't like racing in the wet, he said. And Drake Bochum and Renzo Ferreira of Brazil. Alejandro Gutierrez of Mexico looking for a win himself. Nolan Lampkin spoke to his father earlier. Mason DeCrail had some problems with either a spark plug, they weren't sure, but he had his qualifying curtailed somewhat when he didn't get to go out in the second half of qualifying. A little further down, Whistle Brothers looking for a good result. John Knowles had some incidents. Spoke to Trevor Standish earlier this morning and Garrett Parker, and they too looking for a wet weather race, see if they could come forward because they couldn't get a dry setup that they liked. But certainly it's going to be, I think that's what's going to be interesting about this race. We're going to see guys attempting things here because their qualifying may not have gone well. So this is their opportunity.
Yeah, you know, these guys right now, there's a lot of different backgrounds as far as motorcycle racing. Some of these guys are pure road racers. Some of them come from a dirt track background. I know there's a couple of guys out there that have a supermoto background. So, you know, when this race gets started and the green light goes, we'll really see who feels comfortable and who's willing to hang it out in the rain.
Well, you're going to have to bear with us because these conditions, and it's foggy, and they're going to be coming out of the mist, literally. A KTM force to be reckoned with around this track. Now you're seeing one of the low-level corners, a very heavy braking turn, and I think that's going to be a major potential incident area under braking, especially as these guys spread out the first few laps or so.
Yeah, let's hope it's not an incident area, but, you know, anywhere out there can be. This Road America circuit at 4 miles, it's got a lot of corners, a lot of straightaways, and, you know, some of them not always the most consistent. There's some patches in some corners, and that's what these riders are here for, and that's why they get a couple days of practice to get used to it and get a chance to feel out the track, see where it might be slick, see where the grip is good, and, you know, that's why we get here early.
Yep, and coming into this race, let's remind ourselves, it is Antti Masiato, the third from New Jersey, who leads the way with 128 points, just 5 clear of Brandon Pash, and these two have been on a mission to try and beat each other, and so far, after that double at VIR last time out, Masiati holds the advantage, but for how long? There's a lot of races still to go. Jody Barry, familiar to this place, the man from Illinois, he's in 3rd position, and he too will be looking for a result. Ashton Yates is the man I'm going to watch today. He's a flat tracker himself, doesn't mind these conditions. He's one of the most laid-back characters, just like his dad. And he's due a win. He's been on the podium pretty much every race weekend. Another one to watch out for, or coming through, is the Texan, Brandon Altmaier. Didn't have a good qualifying, hurt his hand in a crash, and was a little bit miffed at that, but it's a little pinky, and it can be so annoying. The left pinky, you know, it doesn't sound like much, but it's probably one of the most annoying injuries to a rider.
Well, you got to think that's got most of your grip on it. That's at the end of the handlebar. That has most of the strength it's holding on. I think I'd rather give an index finger over a pinky.
We're giving fingers away here, but Chris Fillmore's giving nothing away yet. In terms of your thoughts, you've watched these guys in the rain, and you're very close to them, I know, and you're looking also, like we all are, at the potential as to who's got what it takes to go on to the next level, to maybe go to Europe, or to go to the higher level here in MotoAmerica. Who do you see in these conditions shining?
There's a few people to consider. Obviously, the typical guys are going to be Antti Masiato, Brandon Pash, Jody Barry, Ashton Yates, Brandon Altmaier. Those guys have been up there. Josh Cerne's also had a really good ride. We had one rain race so far in New Jersey. He stepped onto the podium alongside Anthony Masiato and Brandon Pash, and he actually put it on pole last year. So, you know, I know he hasn't been getting the results he's wanted so far this year, but this might be his opportunity.
Well, usually I say the calm before the storm, but the storm's already here. Now, will they remain calm? That's the question here for Masiato, because he probably has, in many ways, the most pressure on him. He was flying in qualifying, well ahead of everyone else. He did probably get a draft or two, but even so, looked very impressive. But now he's got a double-edged sword. He knows he leads the championship. He knows he goes well in these conditions. But one mistake could ruin his whole season here. So this is not the day to be the necessary, the hero. We've got one bike in pit lane just coming through.
Yeah,
and
that's somebody to call out right now. That's Jody Barry, number 717. He's going to be starting from pit lane. He had a crash on the warm-up.
That's disaster for the man in 3rd in the championship.
Yeah, it's sad. He's had a little bit of a rough weekend. He had a really good qualifying 1 and was a little disappointed with qualifying 2.
So we've got a delay. You can see the yellow flags waving and everybody kind of wondering. And again, this is where you're going to start to see the metal, because I always think, Chris, and you were here racing here last year, it's hard to, you know, you don't know, the delay has been, the race has been delayed, but you don't know at this point what's going on, and you don't know what's next because you're not experienced, especially as a youngster. So you're kind of, you know, the gremlins start creeping in. What am I supposed to be doing? Are my tires warm? Where's my mechanic? What happens now? And this is where you see the guys who remain calm and put it all back together and kind of zip it all up again and concentrate. You were always a cool cat on the grid, but that's the game here, isn't it?
No, it is, and right now it's the toughest part. It's out of their hands. They don't really know what's going on. Up in the booth, we haven't heard the report, but they are waving the yellow flags, and there's a delay. Hopefully everything's okay, but as a rider, this is when it becomes more of a team effort. You got to make sure that the team's on top of it. They're obviously putting the stands out and getting there. Maybe the riders need some water. Maybe they just need a pep talk. I'm sure they just really want to know what's happening out there and why there's the delay.
Well, we just saw the NCR development man, Brett Verhorst. I spoke to him. He's still a bit short sore. He only came back this weekend, having had 2 weekends off after that injury to his hand. So it's good to see him out on track, but not good to see him in the pit lane in the middle of all this. So, yeah, keep an eye out to see whether he gets back out there. But a delay of a race here at MotoAmerica as we get ready to try to give you the first race of 2 here in the KTM Cup. And, of course, we're starting to get down to the nitty-gritty. We've had 6 races already, and so the championship's starting to take a shape, as it were, and already you could count the top 6 and probably 7 and 8 down to Jackson Blackman, but now with Benjamin Smith qualifying well, he's 9th overall in the championship. But we're starting to see now that any one of those top 9, I would say, is probably going to go for the championship. And certainly in terms of consistency, it's those men that keep scoring the points.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Right now, the top 9 in points, they've all had a shot at the podium. We've seen a bunch of different guys step onto the podium this year, and Right now, with the rain conditions, you know, it's a little unpredictable. Hopefully, we won't see anybody go down, and everybody will keep it on 2 wheels. But you got to expect some of these guys to be trying extra hard and think of it as an open opportunity. You know, some of these guys, you got to see Anthony Mazziato. He did a blistering pace at a 2:48.6, qualifying almost a full second faster than Brandon Posh, and then there was another second back to Ashton Yates. So the rain, it's the great equalizer, I think, is what everybody calls it.
Yeah, no question about it. And, you know, I'm certainly going to watch out for Brandon Pash today. I think there's a bit of a niggle, as you'd imagine. They're very close in terms of times, Mazziato and Pash. And start delay due to track conditions. So, yeah, I think we've got a lot of sitting water. I think that's the main problem. And I think they'll try to brush that off. That's my guess. And the track conditions just very, very slippy. And then you can imagine, you know, these are our youngsters. This is our future. And not a lot of experience out there. And it has to be safe. What we don't want is these guys sliding around for no apparent reason. And if... And weirdly, looking out from the commentary booth, the conditions, I can see it's pouring with rain, but I can also see blue skies in the distance. So it's typical Wisconsin weather. We love it. Yeah, it can change in a heartbeat. So we're hoping when they get the track conditions a little bit better in terms of sweeping some debris and water off the track, then we'll get going. And it's just one of those things. But like I said, this is where actually... the teams, if you will, and most of them it's fathers and mums, and you know it's not a very sophisticated setup, which is what it's all about. But this is where those guys come in and keep everybody calm and just letting them know. Do you prefer to get off the bike and get out of the scene, or do you prefer to stay where you are?
Personally, I like to hop off the bike and stretch my legs a little bit. You know, they're going to be sitting on this they're going to be doing 7 laps at 3 minutes plus the lap, so they're going to be on there for a while. If I was one of those guys, I'd take a little breather, get off the bike, have a think, and come back to it. But yeah, because you can see right now we have sitting water, and that must be the delay. They must want to sweep that off there.
Yeah, it makes sense. There's also some debris in turn 8 as well, so we've just got the 3-minute board. But Chris, while we've got a moment, why don't we just explain to somebody coming here to the first time to watch KTM, and we're live on beIN Sports, just exactly how this championship came to be in many ways, because these are all identical 390 RC Cup KTM bikes, and so therefore it is all about the rider, and it is all about concentrating on racecraft.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a true riders championship. We formed this class, KTM with MotoAmerica, to try to find the next up-and-coming U.S. champion that can go on into the world. What it is it's a age group 14 to 22. They had to have previous road race experience, and they come and they buy their own bikes. HMC, KTM, they service them. So we have a full staff it's my old race team servicing the bikes and taking care of them, making sure everybody's on top of it. I'm there for the kids to talk over coaching. You know, if they have a question about which kind of tire to run in conditions like this, I'll do my best to steer them in the right direction. But it's a really good opportunity for these guys. One of the cool things about it, a little added bonus, is that the top 3 in points. So we're going to take the top 3 over to a world final. It's going to be held in Assen this year.
Wow.
Yeah,
it rains there.
It rains there for sure. Last year we took the same over to Silverstone. It's a world final. There's 7 other nations running off against holding an RC Cup race, and so they'll go over there and they'll have that world final runoff, and it's a really great opportunity. I mean, you know, a lot of these guys in this paddock right now, their goal is to go over to the world scene. And as youngsters, we're taking them over there and getting their feet wet and giving them the experience at a very young age.
I think that's the point. I mean, Wayne Rainey's vision was just that. Get these youngsters, get them on decent race bikes, give them stability, give them good race tracks and safe race tracks and good conditions to race under, and that will bring them forward, that will make them champions, and that will give them confidence to go on. And as we saw last year at Silverstone with Braden Ort and Gage McAllister, of course, who was a double winner here last year, they did do exactly that, and they held their own, I may add, against the rest of the world, and that's no mean feat. Going that far, many of them not having power sports before they left, so it was all new to them. And it's going to be a 6-lap race, so this is going to be a real sprint. Interestingly enough, out magically out of nowhere, in the last 30 seconds, it stopped at least where I'm looking at, raining, and we're about to go on a warm-up lap again. Now, this is crucial. This is where experience counts, because those are the guys that actually really take note mentally of where the wet patches really are and how, you know, where the bad patches are. It's wet all over, but there's going to be places that are worse than others.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the corners that are going to stand out to me are going to be turn 3. We saw a couple people go down in qualifying in the Superbike. Coming out of turn 5, you got the chicane out of turn 11, and you have Canada corner. All those ones have been kind of tricky in the past for me, but these guys, they got a 5-minute warm-up. They're going to get another sighting lap, and then it's going to be a grid and go. So, you know, they are getting the laps. They're going to be getting the experience, and, you know, hopefully they can just hold it together for the race now.
Or as Beth usually now reminds me, it's quick start, not grid and go anymore. You know, I have to get my pronunciations right. Under the bridge they go here at MotoAmerica, a fantastic, fantastic facility. And they're so proud of this facility and the fans that come out here to all the events here, of course, cars and bikes. And here in Elkhart Lake, it's just a wonderful place to be, rain or shine. And certainly the riders come and love it. I was talking to some of the men who come up from Phoenix, Arizona, in the Ngafsky crew, as it were. A long way to come from Atlanta as well. Long drive overnight to get here, but setting up and then getting ready for this, the first of 2 races. So there's men and youngsters from all over the United States here preparing and getting ready for this race weekend, and it's quite an undertaking.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's a really cool part about this sport. It's a pro-am race for these guys. They get to travel the nation. They get to see the country. We go all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast to the Midwest. So these guys are really getting the full U.S. tour right now, and it's going to be a great experience. It's going to be memories that they're going to be able to live with forever, for sure.
Yeah, and I said this before. You know, not in any other sport that I know of can you, in the NBA, sit on the same bench as Kobe Bryant. You can't sit, you know, at a soccer game with Messi. But these guys can wander over to Josh Hayes or Cameron Bobier and go, hey, you had any problems at turn 2? I'm still kind of stuck on my setup. Or even yourself. I mean, it's absolutely a huge opportunity. And you really do, for me anyway, as a commentator, I really notice the guys that take that opportunity. The guys that come and see Brian here in commentary and get their face out there and get their name out there. It's all part of the tapestry of becoming a good racer.
Yeah, that's really what we're trying to form with the KTM Cup. You know, there's all these other riders that have been here. They're in the hot seat now, and they understand what it takes. They had to go through it. They started at a young age too. Some guys, you know, started with the big teams, and some guys started from the grassroots. And everybody wants to see everybody succeed. You know, everyone's here to help. Josh Hayes, Cameron Bobier, all those guys are really helpful throughout the weekend for the RC Cup kids. And, you know, it's a really great experience. We got to sit down with John Ulrich and the M4 Suzuki team this weekend, and they kind of got to meet the riders, meet the team, and, you know, these guys, we want them to have a future. We want them to have a bright future, and we want to introduce them to all the teams so they can have a place to go in the future.
If you'd have started out in this, if you'd have gone back in time and were 15 again, you know, you've had a good career. You continue to do so, but what would you have tried to learn that you didn't think of at the time?
Well, right now, the way I see it is they're getting to ride at ages 14 to 22. At 14, they got 2 years till they can step up onto a 600. They're getting to see all the national tracks at a very young age. It's a lot of experience that they get to get, and it's an early start. It's a really great opportunity.
Learning the racecraft, that's what it's all about. And now the conditions, amazingly, set fairly fair. And that's going to be very interesting, too, because as this race progresses, but it's only 6 laps, conditions will improve, but I don't think it'll change in terms of anybody wanting different tires. The wet weather tires will do just fine, but the conditions will get better and better, and that means the race will get faster and faster. Anthony Mazziato just tests out the suspension before he heads off and down that long run to turn 1, the right-hander. First corner, very fast here. Look at this mass of KTM Cup bikes ready to go racing here at MotoAmerica. Rachel pulls the flag away, and we're about to go racing. 6 laps here of the KTM RC Cup. Away we go. Mazziato gets off the line very well indeed, and the whole front row gets well away. Down to the first corner they go then. Mazziato, Brandon Pash, and Ashton Yates looking to the inside. And Ashton Yates got a flyer there, but he might not quite get it into the lead. He's gone to the inside. He might still if he brakes well.
Yep,
he dives into second.
It looks like Mazziato to hold the lead going through turn 1 with Brandon Pash right on him and Ashton Yates holding third.
brilliantly through the first corner. Everybody safe so far. Down the hill, and this is where it's going to count, though. We saw Cameron Beaubier go down here in Superpole, and it is pretty tricky, and there's some patches here that you've really got to be careful of, because you need to get on the power. You just saw it there from the third place man, Ashton Yates, just getting a little out of line there as he hit a puddle. But now you want to put the hammer down and get down this long straight through the woods here at Road America as quickly as you can. And this next corner, Chris, is going to sort out the boys from the men, or the men from the boys, whichever way you look at it.
Yep, and we're going to see it, and it looks like it's actually Ezra Beaubier that took the lead right there. He's going down on the outside around Mazziato and into turn 5, and he's got the lead.
Well, we've had the name Beaubier out in the lights of the top 3 in Superpole, but now it's Ezra who leads them back up the hill. What a great start from Ezra Beaubier.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah, really good. Ezra hasn't been participating in the whole championship, but I know he's been back home with his dad racing his 600, so it looks like the extra track time's paying off as he's actually pulling out a little bit of gap on the second place guy right there.
Yeah, I spoke to him this morning. He was quietly confident. It was funny because in the background, his brother was being touted by Brian on the loudspeakers. He was kind of smiling to himself because he's like, yeah, that's my name too. And now he wants a bit of the action.
And look at that. It's Josh Cernay, qualified pole sitter from last year. He's up into 3rd place. He made a move on Mazziato going into turn 8, but it didn't hold. So we'll see. I think there's going to be a lot to watch on Josh.
Well, it's funny, actually. He gave me a wry smile before, and he said, I'm doing my little rain dance. I want it to be wet because I've got to come through because my qualifying sucked, and that's his words. He said, my qualifying was not what I can do. And remember, he was pole here last year, so I can understand his feelings, but he goes well, does Josh Cernay, the California kid. And he's had a tough start to the year. It's not been the best of years so far for Josh Cernay, and like I said, he's 753 points at the moment, 75 off the lead, but this could be a turnaround weekend here at Road America for the young Californian. His mum's here, his girlfriend's here, and he's definitely put in a fantastic first lap to start this, and a bit of a surprise, really. I don't suppose we expected, as we come up to finish the first lap, that it would be Ezra Beaubier who leads the way here in this first race.
Yeah, Josh, he had a little bit of a tough qualifying in 14th, but and then a bit of a moment there. The rear end stepped out going through there, but he's got it collected and back together. He just lost the bridge to that front group.
Just watching Brandon Altmaier. He's in 11th at the moment. He's coming through as well. Renzo Ferreira, the Brazilian. Josh Cernay. A look over the shoulder, and this is where you've got to be careful. You want to keep an eye on who's with you, but you don't want to lose time like you just did by looking over the shoulder. But this is where tactics come into play a little bit, because you can get a draft in good conditions up this hill, because it's a long way. They cross the line then. Mazziato and Beaubier. Josh Cernay is in 3rd place. Mason de Crail, amazing. The whole de Crail clan is here, and Mason, the youngest, is out there in 4th position after a terrible qualifying where he didn't really see qualifying. They reckon they had some sort of spark plug problem, and they wanted to have a look at what it was, but it just died on him. And I was there in the pits with the team, and there was all sorts of everybody trying to calm everybody down, but everybody finally pulled it all together, and now Mason's doing the business because he's remaining very calm with a 318.1 on that last lap.
Yeah, to make up that many positions in the first lap is really impressive.
Superb.
Really, and it's his first race of the year on the RC Cup. He did a few last year, and this is his first one back, so it looks like he's up to speed pretty quickly.
Well, he was very, Caleb, his brother, was trying to calm him down because he was so mad because he felt like he could go well in qualifying. And I think maybe it's just in some ways helped him as they come under braking again here. 5 laps to go. Beaubier holding the line for now. Top 4. Nothing between them. 5, 6. In fact, the first group 6, and it could be 7 in a moment.
And you can see that draft going down the back straightaway as they kind of sucked up to the front group. Mason's right on them, and now it's going to string 1 through 5, 6, 7. It's 8 right there in a line.
Let me talk tactics, Chris. Obviously, in a group like this, we've seen the drafting. Forget that as much because they're not, they're not as close as they sometimes are in dry conditions. But given the wet conditions, where do you try to make inroads in terms of catching up? If you're at the back of this group in 6 or 7s, how do you then start to plan your next 5 laps?
I think the safest point right now is the straightaway. You have the draft to work with, and right now I think in the next couple laps we're going to be able to see, and these guys are going to be able to learn where they can make up the draft, how far they can be back, and if they have to push in the corners, if they're not feeling that comfortable, they might be able to just eke it out in the straight line and under the draft. So right now we've seen that nobody's really been able to pull away, mostly because of that draft situation. We're going to see, though. You know, it's going to develop. We're only on the second lap of 6, and it's a good battle so far.
The man to lose out the most, having had that front row start, Ashton Yates. He's down in 10th at the moment. And he's got some work to do. He's got Benjamin Smith in front of him, Sean Ungofsky, the man I was mentioning from Phoenix, just ahead of them in 8th position. Then Brandon Pash. And Pash has got to watch himself because he and, of course, Mazziato still fighting for the lead. So close in the championship, just 5 points between them. And now he is in a position in 7th where he's at the back of this lead group and starting to spread out as the 2 leaders pulling away from the rest of the Packers. Anthony Mazziato picks it up again, but these 2 now got their heads down, and Mazziato will try to break the toe if he can of both the man behind him and the group, because Brandon Pash is in that group in 7th place. Good start from Alessandro Gutierrez, and that looks like it is Sean Ungofsky at, sadly, the man from Phoenix is off at turn 1, and that's his day done, but he'll be back to build up again, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's sad to see Sean on the side, but it looks like turn 6 got him, but he's okay, and he'll live to race tomorrow.
Yeah, I was talking to him. He's really kind of laid back about it. Talked to him this morning, and yeah, he said he's really enjoying it. He's not trying to pull up too many trees. He knows he's just starting out. He knows he's not as fast as the leading group, and he just wants to learn his way, and that's a smart move on his part. So this lead group then with 3 halfway through. Brandon Pash just did the fastest lap. There I go. As soon as I mentioned him, he does the fastest lap. A 3:11 by him. And he's now pushing through up to 5th place now, behind Mason DeCrail and Josh Sene in 3rd still. Ezra Bobre and Mazziato. Mazziato back in control of this race at the halfway point. This straight seems to go on forever. But I suppose there's a lot of ground can be made up, especially on the exit of 3 and then down here under braking.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at 100 miles an hour, it's this MotoAmerica has some of the longest straights out of the circuits in the U.S. So right now these guys, but look, you know, see, you have the draft and it sucks them back up. So now it's a tight-knit field going into turn 5 and coming out.
Well, you can still see the conditions treacherous there. A little wiggle then for the man at the back of this group. But we have got a 6-way battle, and all the efforts by Mazziato to pull away have not come to anything as he heads towards the carousel again. He's got a host of them behind him, and I think it's going to be that way all along. And the trouble is, Chris, and we saw this last year at MotoAmerica, do you want to be leading the whole way? Because that is actually what puts you sometimes in a worse position, because everybody else is doing planning while you're just trying to stay ahead.
Well, I think that's what these guys are doing right now with 5 laps to go. They're going to look at this and try to figure out, and I think shuffle around and see where they need to be on that last lap, because that's the most important lap of this whole thing, staying up on 2 wheels and making sure that you're in the group. But, you know, it's you're kind of testing it out right now. You're testing the waters. You're looking to see where you're going to be on the last lap, if you want to be 3rd, if you want to be 4th, or if you want to lead the thing. You know, we saw some guys lead it onto the last out of the last corner at some of the other tracks and hold that lead and take the finish. So right now we'll just kind of wait and see what happens.
That's Seton West sadly not making it, and that's game over. He's another one of the spectacle guys we were talking about earlier. Just looks as though he hit the grass. Yeah, that's what exactly the same thing happened to Cameron Bobier earlier in the that's Whistle as well going down. So a couple of riders going down. So, yeah, the conditions starting to take their toll. 3 of 6, and we've got a 4-way battle at the front still, if not 6, by the end of this particular stretch. But it's still 5-1-6, Mazziato of New Jersey, who leads the way from Ezra Bobier. And Bobier in 2nd place, having led the early part of this race. A surprise start, he just got a scintillating start. Brandon Pash now coming into the mix, right there with Josh Sene, and those 2 now going to battle.
Yeah, as these guys are getting more comfortable, you can see they're all running similar times right now. The field's staying pretty tight in the top 6, and as they cross the finish right now, we're at the halfway mark. So halfway to go, and it looks like Anthony Mazziato will lead it onto the 3 laps to go.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye also on Mason DeCrail and the man behind him, and that is Renzo Ferreira, the young Brazilian, who's having his first season out here. And I've actually been really impressed with him because he came onto the scene, he's never raced in the States, and you know, to join this mix of guys with differences in experience, but certainly when you look at the front guys, to get up to where he is right now, so early on in this season, well impressed with the young Brazilian.
Yeah, he's having a great race in the rain right now. You know, I talked to him, and he wants to come over. He wants to race in America. That's his dream, is to be here, and they're doing a really good job, and we're happy to have him.
Same with Gutierrez. He was racing in Europe in the CV Championship in Spain. He's another one that's really enjoying, coming from Mexico, from just outside Mexico City, and Toluca is where he hails from, but he too really enjoying this. Here we go, it's battle up. This race, this corner really does change every lap, because just as somebody starts to take a little bit of control, by the time they come out of 5 and back up the hill again, they're all together.
Yeah, absolutely. They swarm right back in together, and they're in a line, and it's, you know, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them going into the turn.
Well, it's a distinct break now between the top 7, and Ashton Yates has moved up to 8th position. No Brandon Altmaier. I'm surprised at that. He's, I think, still suffering. He had a crash yesterday, did Brandon, and I think that sore finger, that little pinky, is really giving him more trouble, because I would have expected, given the form that he's had, the young Texan, to be right up there, but he's down in 12th position. But all eyes certainly on Ashton Yates as to whether he can come forward, and a good showing so far from Alejandro Gutierrez.
Yeah, and Brandon Altmaier, it's sad not to see him up towards the front, and he's not making any excuse about his pinky. I talked to him earlier, and he just said it just must be him not clicking today, but he said it hurts him, but it's not the thing that's causing him to be so far back right now.
In terms of the race times, 2:12.7, and everybody getting down. Fastest 2:11.9 in that last lap, and that was Renzo Ferreira. So obviously, look, you can see the puddles though. Conditions not easy at all as they come through the spray and the mist. And it's Josh Sene at the front now. Having been in this lead group, he had a scintillating start from mid-pack and really wasn't very happy after this morning's qualifying, but was praying for rain. He got it, and now the sun is shining, and it's starting to dry out, and this does start to get worried, because what I always think when these conditions, it's a psychological thing as much as anything. You start to see the sunshine, you think, oh, it's drying out, I'm going to have more grip, and that can be a little bit deceptive.
Well, if you look at the lap times, the last one around was a 3:10 by Alejandro Gutierrez, the fastest lap of the race, I believe. It's proving you right. They are going a little bit faster. So as far as from the booth, it doesn't really look like the track is getting any better. It still looks as wet as can be. They just must be pushing them and getting a little bit more comfortable.
You're watching the KTM RC Cup here from MotoAmerica, race 1 of 2, and it's a 7-way battle for the lead, and it's a doozy so far.
Yeah, and they're tucked in, and it's 4, 5, 6, 7 across going into turn 1. It's such exciting racing. We'll see who goes into turn 1 and holds it.
Down to the first corner. Who's going to break? The last of the late breakers, and it is the 254 of Mason de Grille, who leads the way. And that is a shock, probably for him just as much as anybody else. I saw his family on the way over here, and they said, will they still run in the rain? I said, yes, they will. And so Mason out there doing the business. Great first corner by him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just proving to... We don't know who the winner's going to be. It's going to come
predicted
down
at
to the
your
last
peril.
corner, last lap. Right now, Mazziato got shuffled to the back,
coming
and now he's
Have
back
some
up
of that,
into
son.
third.
Yep. Rubbin's racing. It's official. Even elbow pads. But there's a tendency to that, because you really are both physically concerned about being touched by another rider and put off. And if you're not aware, I prefer to have my elbows out so I know exactly where the other guy is, because if you get taken by surprise coming into a corner like that, you're down immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'd rather bump elbows and use it as a gauge rather than, you know, touching bars or fairings. So I think that's just kind of what they're doing, you know, holding their space and saying, hey, this is my zone, and back off.
How good is this KTM RC Cup? Josh Sene was leading. He's just looked over his shoulder and go, wait a minute, I'm at the back of this group now.
Yeah,
how did that happen?
I saw him shake his head there. He's a little discouraged. But that's how close this racing is, and that's how important the draft is.
Yeah, no question about it. Like I said, I'm not so sure you desperately want to lead every lap. If you can brake, then fine. But I don't think anybody's going to do that in these conditions on a day like today. But back into the front goes the man of the moment, the 516 of Anthony Mazziato. And it really is a fantastic battle, toing and throwing. Looking up at the leaderboard, it's completely different to what we're seeing on track. For literally in the last few corners they've changed up again, because as you can see, it is 516 that leads to 9-7, and that's Ezra Bobier. And I'm really impressed with Ezra, as you said, first time out, and so to be this quick and to be on the pace is really, really good.
Well, Ezra came back at Virginia, so that was his first time back in 2016. He did race with us last year. You can see these guys, maybe it is getting a little bit dry out there. You can see him going through the puddle, trying to anyway. Maybe they're trying to cool down the tires.
A lot taller than his brother, but a lot more gangly too. I would have thought they probably weigh similar, but definitely Ezra's a lot taller.
Yeah, for a young guy, he's I think he's hitting puberty right now, so he's going through it, and you know, he probably weighs as much as probably more than his brother, and the fact is that he's one of the biggest guys.
Oh, down goes our first contender.
Ezra.
And just as we put the muckers on him, sadly. Down goes Bobier, and his brother went down earlier in the weekend, and now he's had the same fall, but in the race. And can he get it going again? A real shame after talking him up, and it was going to be a real hero's finish for him, but it's not going to be, sadly. And Ezra Bobier out of this race, and that leaves Mazziato with a little bit of air as he comes past our commentary position to complete another lap and head to the final lap here.
Yeah, we got one to go, so this is going to be exciting. Mazziato right now, he's got a little gap going in turn 1. I think it's going to be really hard to hold it going down the back stretch into turn 5, but he does have, you know, 5'10" bike length.
And hold the Spanish presses. We possibly could have a Mexican on the podium in this one, as Gutierrez is right where he needs to be. He was in second going into turn 1. He's just dropped to third, but he's in the mix. Mazziato leading. Now, the question is, and you can tell me, Chris, have these chasing group of 5 or got the ability to catch Mazziato before the end of this straight?
Well, I think so. I think it's going to come down to the draft. I think Mazziato's strategy is going to be hold it out up front as long as he can.
Get your elbows out.
Yeah, get your elbows out and hold the lead. You know, he's going to put his head down. He did the fastest lap of the race just that last lap. So, you know, I think he's going to try to pull out. I don't know if it's going to be possible as these guys on the brakes catch up to him, and it all plays into the draft.
Here we go then. It's been this way throughout this 6-lap shortened race because of the track conditions. We had a lot of sitting water right at the start of this race. We had a massive downpour just before we all got underway. And now, as you can see, conditions set fair. But this is the last lap, and it's New Jersey's Anthony Mazziato, the third, who leads the way as he's done throughout most of the season. Start of the day, leading the championship by 5 points, and he's going to capitalize on that. Brandon Pash, his arch rival, is in 4th place at the moment, but could be anywhere by the end of this.
Yeah, that's Posh sitting in second right behind him. So, yeah, that's gonna those guys going 1-2 in the championship. They both want to beat each other really badly. So we'll see how it ties up and if somebody from the back of the group can't pull up through the front.
Well, it's gloves off again then between these two, Mazziato and Pash, the two New Jersey boys. And who's going to take it though? Very close indeed. Mazziato head down, under braking, and Pash brakes very hard indeed.
Gutierrez slides into third going into the chicane, and Maz wants to lead this thing. He hasn't looked back. He knows where he's at, and he wants to lead it. Let's see if he can do it.
Showing some real maturity as splashes through the puddles down the long back straight here at Road America. Conditions improving, but not by much, and he'll be glad to get this done. But here comes Brandon Pash. He's got the run on him. Mazziato and Pash side by side, just as they are in the championship. And into the lead goes Pash. Beautifully done into the right-hander of Canada. Excellent stuff. Back up the hill they come, and can he hold on now? That's the question. Has he left it too early a little bit and given it away to Mazziato, who will chase him home? Oh, down goes!
A big high side for Mason DeCarroll. That was nasty. Hopefully he's okay on that one.
Big off on the last lap. All to play for. Mazziato hits the front again. And one more corner to go.
And he wants to lead that thing onto the straightaway. He comes out of the last corner in the lead, and it's Mazziato, Pash, and
Watch Gutierrez. Watch Gutierrez. This could be a really sensational finish. Up the hill they come. Mazziato. And they've got a real trail here. Here we go. Who's going to take it? Mazziato tries to get wide, but he's given it away. He's given it away. And across the line they come. And that was a brilliant finish for Brandon Pash. Back out at you, Mazziato. I can do it too. And what a result there also for Alejandro Gutierrez of Mexico, who takes second place, his best finish for the KTM Cup. And Mazziato will have to settle for third place. He'll be massively disappointed with that.
Yeah, he always is. Anytime he's not standing on the top of the podium, he's disappointed. The guy wants to win, but you know, it's for the championship, it tightens it up. It's just making it more exciting as we you know, chip away at these races this season.
Well, I tell you what, a lot of times when you come to a big race weekend, you look down the card and you think, oh, I'm looking forward to seeing Josh Hayes. I'm looking forward to seeing Cameron Beaubier and JD Beach. Tell you what, guys, don't ever miss the KTM RC Cup, because they once again put top draw stuff on for us. That was excellent racing, and it just shows what the future holds. Brandon Pash is going to be doing it at the podium. You want to come and join him down there, because he's going to be a lot of fun. Those two, Mazziato and Pash, have been at each other's throats all week and all year long. It will continue well into this weekend and on to the next for sure. Well, I'm going to head down and join the fun with the boys from Jersey and also say congratulations to Alessandro Gutierrez. I'm going to hand it back to Greg White to round out this fantastic KTM RC Cup.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jonathan Green and Chris Fillmore, for that awesome race call. What a spectacular race we just saw, the KTM RC Cup. Close racing, just like we expected, as well as some heartache, last lap crashing right there by riders. But what a win by Brandon Pash. 0.034 seconds, the margin of victory over Anthony Mazziato. An interesting move by Mazziato, the 516, to put himself first coming out of that final corner. And, you know, we were watching this race as well, Jason Pridmore, and we were thinking, uh-oh.
Yeah, it's hard to lead out of this last corner, especially on this size bike when so many guys can get bunched up quickly. You know, he had such a good lead going into the last lap, but it just goes to show what that draft can do down that back straightaway when all 5 of those guys started coming back up. And it's heartbreak for Mason DeCrail. He rode awesome in his first round that we've seen him at this year. Obviously, his brother Caleb's been with us many years in the past, and Mason's getting his start, and he was right there with that lead group, so bummer for him.
So a good race in the KTM RC Cup. We're going to take a break here on beIN Sports, but we're coming back with more racing, so don't go anywhere. Road America continues. Well, the rain has stopped and the track continues to dry here at Road America. MotoAmerica RC Cup, presented by KTM, of course, is done and dusted. It's in the books. And what great race action we saw, Jason Pridmore. I mean, we're talking about the top 3 being covered by 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, it's the kind of racing that you like to see. And I don't know if you got to watch the Moto3 race last week from Magello, where the top 20 guys, 22 guys were within 2 seconds of each other. Incredible. That's a lot of the kind of racing we see at KTM Cup. And looking at the guys, Brandon Pash, awesome job by him. He kind of stayed patient back there for a lot of that race. Was able to come through there at the end and draft by Anthony Mazziato, who was leading out of the last corner. He did an incredible job the whole race. He also got shuffled back early, came through, but Alejandro Gutierrez, got to give a call out to him. Came out of that last corner in 3rd, did a great job as we look back down through 10th through 18th.
A lot of good riders in this field, young riders as well. You heard Chris Fillmore talking about it. As young as 14 years old in this series, on back through 18th spot. And this is a very economical way to go racing. Very limited tires that they're allowed to purchase, and the motorcycle very reasonable, and limited modifications as well. So you buy a race kit on this bike and you're into this thing for about $10,000, and you can go racing all year with a 2 sets of tires a weekend. So it's that travel. Ian Champness in 19th spot. Ian, of course, making his name in the AMA Supermoto Series as well. A lot of crossover. This is a good way for road racers to get into this series, get noticed. Ezra Beaubier in 24th place. Now let's go down to Christy Emmons, who has our winner from KTM RC Cup. Christy.
Brandon, incredible draft for the win. Tell us about it.
Yeah, the last lap was pretty crazy. I was in 2nd for most of the lap, and I drafted into Canada corner, turned 12, and ran a little wide and got passed back. So my only option was to draft him on the straight, and I didn't think I had it because he had a little bit of a gap coming out of the straight, but it worked. It was a close one.
Congratulations.
All right, Brandon Pash right there, smile on his face. How many times has he done winter interviews like that? I mean, that's a good way to tell us that story. Look at the draft. He's number 969 right there in the middle.
And poor Anthony, he sees it right there. He knows, oh, I'm a little bit messed up here. I'm a little, you know, both those guys got by him. Hey, he's the points leader. He got himself another big batch of points there in third. Brandon did a great job coming across. Brandon's funny talking to him because these kids are so young, but they would know where they want to go.
Yeah.
They're looking at the Spanish series. They're looking at England. They're looking at, but most of them just want to get to Moto3, you know?
So Brandon Pausch now takes over. How about that? So Anthony Mazziato with that move now loses that points lead, so he's 4 back. Jody Berry in third, and Ashton Yates, son of Aaron Yates, for those that are Superbike fans throughout the years.
And you look at those 3 guys, Jody Berry, Ashton Yates, and Gutierrez, they're all battling for that 3rd spot that's going to take them over to Aston later on in the years. We heard Chris and Jonathan talking about earlier. The 3 guys that are our lead 3 from this series are going to get a chance to go over there and race against some of them. So we'll look at our points all the way from 10th all the way down to 18th. So it's really important that these guys keep finishing races because they want to keep racking up those points. Those first 2 guys got a little bit of a lead, but from 3rd through 5th there, we've got a big challenge.
And they have another one going on right here tomorrow as well, so they'll get another go at it. And speaking of racing, on the other side of our commercial break, we're going to have Super Sport Super Stock 600, race number 1 coming up. Boy, these track conditions are a question. Stay with us. Continuing coverage of the MotoAmerica Superbike Championship right here on beIN Sports. Coming at you round 5 of 9 for 2016. And it is the Honda Superbike Showdown of Wisconsin. We're at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. I'm Greg White. This is Jason Pridmore sitting next to me. Christy Emmons down in pit lane. And Jason, we are looking at a track that just had KTM RC 390s racing on it. The sun has poked out. The rain has stopped. And I'm going to tell you, this has got to be the trickiest conditions for a motorcycle racer.